we know we get started.
that's the cutting point.
So we know where we're cutting.
Fair enough.
Sorry it's so cold in here, mate.
Welcome to the Natural Antagonist podcast, Ian Wright. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, very well, thanks.
Good.
Awesome.
Back in
Very
Selby
well.
again.
Where are you living now?
Oh, it's a secret.
What part of Yorkshire are you living in right now?
Well, I've moved from.
Anything
I've
them address.
moved
Never
over
adopt
the
you.
border. I'm traitor now. I've moved to South Yorkshire. Literally one step over the border, so you can work it out.
We're so close to South Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Selby's a weird place like that because we're in North Yorkshire, right? But like you got East Riding, just round the corner, and then South Yorkshire's
But
just
you've still got
around
that
the
big
border.
connection to Selby.
Well,
it's just got that little drawing
25
power.
years, mate. And more. 25 years.
Can't stay away, can you, bruv?
Yeah. When I first moved to Selby, I don't know if you know why or how I came to Selby.
No, but
You used to be a fireman, didn't you?
Yeah, so I came with the fire brigade. So when I joined the fire brigade, you were given certain places you could choose, and I got about 6 different choices, one being Selby. And believe it or not, I'd never heard of Selby. And I just said to my gaffer at the time, I said, I just want to go to the busiest fire station. And he went, you want to go to Selby then? And I went, okay, where's that?
So where were you before that?
Northallerton. Northallerton. Yeah, so that's why and how I came to Selby. And my plan, believe it or not, was to do 4 years in Selby, which is a lot of firemen do this, and then move to a day crude station, so you could have your nights off and more of a work-life balance. And I liked Selby so much, I ended up staying for 25, 26, 27 or whatever it was years, and obviously still got ties here now.
Selby,
So.
it's got that drawing.
Yeah,
It's
power,
not a
hasn't
bad
it?
place. It's not a bad place.
It's a great place.
It's not a bad place.
And I've seen it obviously change a lot in all that time as well,
yeah.
for the better. So
Yeah, there's stuff that's frustrating.
Apart from no
about
music venues, but we'll get onto that later on.
Apart from, the music is, we're trying our goddamn, all of us have tried our goddamn best and
yeah,
been let down, let's say.
Yeah.
But
First and foremost, tell us about what you do now.
Oh yeah, what are you here to promote?
I'm not here to promote anything. I'm just
Yourself, mate.
yeah. No.
what you're
I'm here to give you some good content.
Excellent.
I like good
Well,
content.
so what do you do now then?
Well, so I have been for quite a number of years working in the digital space. So as a social media manager, marketer, kind of an entrepreneur. Believe it or not, I've actually been in business since I was 22 years old, in one form or another. I've always had a business, been running a business or whatever. And believe it or not, because most people who've known me for 20 or 30 years, they kind of know me from Selby, if you like. So they know me from the music, the pubs, the bars, the restaurants, nightclubs. So they think that's always been my thing. But I actually started out as a marketer when I was 22. I was doing marketing, and that was old school marketing, like mail drops and stuff like that.
Door,
Yeah. So I was doing that, but I was also in the military as well. I was ex-army. So I was in the army and doing marketing. And then even years later, when I joined the fire brigade, when I joined the fire brigade and moved to Selby, I was running 3 businesses at that point. And I amalgamated that into my passions, and my passions were music, drinking, and marketing, weirdly, because I just get off on marketing other people's businesses and marketing my own businesses. So that's why I opened a cafe in Selby, so I could do all 3 of those things. So me doing marketing now, even though when I tell a lot of people about it, they think, wow, Ian's gone into marketing. No, I've gone back to marketing, which is what I was doing all them years ago. So to answer your original question, I'm a digital marketer. So social media marketing, social media management for businesses, which is what I love. That's my passion, is to see other businesses doing well and other business people doing well. And this gives me the opportunity to do that and make money.
That's very cool, because that's pretty much why we're doing this in many ways. There's many reasons why we're doing this, but one of them is, to try and sort of like get all the businesses helping each other.
Yeah.
Make people aware as well. What's on the doorstep? Really.
Just shine a spotlight on what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
People,
that's good. It's because I can vouch for that. You know, I've run a business, bricks and mortar business. I've run a bricks and mortar business in Selby a few times, and I can vouch for the fact that it doesn't matter how many years you run a brick and mortar business, there will be somebody who doesn't never know it's there. They haven't got a clue what you do. So promotion, word of mouth. You know, you just need to do it all the time. And these kinds of platforms and these things are just amazing for that.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it. Like Doug said, and I think it's because it's not like massively new, but I think for the longest time until very recently, like it was kind of a mishmash of old school marketing, online marketing, and now like online marketing, you know, it's all on, everything's online. Old school marketing don't really work because everyone's online all the time. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily really know how to do that. I mean, I don't either. Like trying to promote music stuff and that, like, trying to work out, just go along what works, what doesn't work. But a lot of people it can be quite daunting going into a space that you don't really understand. You know, I kind of didn't grow up with Facebook, for example, but I was maybe 15, 16 when Facebook came out. So I kind of grew out of it, you know. But there's people
showing your age now, then.
Yeah, well, not as old.
2007, I think, was it? Facebook, something like that.
Yeah, so I would be
something like that. Yeah.
No, it was earlier than that.
2007.
Yeah, it was. It was about that. Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking like I guess like I meant.
You're thinking of MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace.
MySpace.
Just
Jesus.
Just generally online stuff then, rather than like Facebook.
You know who owns MySpace now?
MySpace was first, yeah.
I thought MySpace was fucking.
Yeah, but do you know who owns MySpace now?
Who owns MySpace now?
Have a guess.
Oh, I don't know. Zuckerberg.
Facebook.
Yeah. Fucking
Is it still even?
Yeah,
does
it's
it
still
even
there.
exist?
Yeah,
Still?
it's kind of there. It's
But
he just bought it to get rid of it, didn't he?
Yeah. The point being is that it's not. It doesn't come naturally for a lot of people, you know.
No.
And it's a difficult. It's a different thing. It's not the same, and you have to find innovative ways to be able to market what you're doing because certainly with music, like, everyone's doing the same thing, you know, and it's trying to find ways of cutting through that, and it can be hard to build followers. It can, even if you're amazing at what you do, it can be hard to build followers. You know, like you need to find ways of kind of advertising on social media, and it's not that easy if you don't know what you're doing. And like I said, I grew up with the internet, but I still don't really know the best way to do stuff. So I think it's good to have someone like yourself on who kind of understands these things, just to give a few tips to our.
Well, lots of weird algorithms and shit like that.
You kind of say that,
Yeah,
but I'll counter that a little bit because I kind of agree with what you're saying in a way. It's good to have people like me who've got the technical knowledge for the more technical stuff. However, when you're talking about marketing and like you're touching on social media there, I think marketing is dead easy, and most people, the reason they fail at marketing is because they're not doing it. They're just not doing it. Marketing is, in its simplest form, letting people know about your shit. If you have shit to sell, tell people you have shit to sell.
Yeah.
If you have shit to train or teach, tell people you have stuff to train or teach.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a gig coming up, tell people you've got a gig. Let other people help you. And if that doesn't happen, then and that's marketing in its purest sense.
I don't think I meant that marketing in itself is difficult. I think when you start, like Lizzie just said, when people over a certain age, you start saying things like algorithms and, you know, the more.
I don't know what a fucking algorithm is. What's an algorithm?
I mean, I do know what it is, and it still confuses me. But like,
I don't care what an algorithm
no,
is.
you don't care. But I'm not saying that like people you should or shouldn't know. The point.
Facebook doesn't care what its algorithm. All it cares about is you putting out lots and lots of really good content.
Sure.
And that's going to win the game. That's all it is. Because social media is a game. That's
sure.
all it is.
Well, would you not argue that you need to know the rules of that game to play it?
You do. It does help. It does help.
Precisely.
Definitely.
This is my point. And that stuff like that can seem overwhelming to someone who doesn't know, isn't technically or used to the internet, you know?
Yeah. So the first thing you've got to realise is social media is a game.
Of course.
100%. The other thing you've got to realise is that game is massively weighted against you. Massively.
Of course.
You know, it's all weighted towards making money for Facebook,
Of course.
for Zuckerberg, for Meta. Same with any other social media. And so once you learn to play, you've got to play the game to start with. That's the first thing. Most people aren't playing the game. Once you realise what the game is and how to play it, it's fairly simple. You know, with Facebook, it's simple. If you don't spend any money on Facebook, Facebook won't show your shit to anybody. You know, you can have 10,000 people. I've got a page with 5,000 followers on it, and if I put an organic piece of content out there and don't push it, don't put any tags, don't add people, don't share it, maybe 20 or 30 people are going to see it. Over a period of time, maybe a few more will see it because of the fact I've been putting content out for a long time. However, if I play the game a little bit and I spend £5-10 just pushing that piece of content and I share it to a load of people and I ask them to share it and I tag a few people, that's playing the game, then all of a sudden 1,000 people
like
have seen
tree,
it.
Isn't it? You know,
It's exactly what it is. You've got to create the branches to make things work.
Is there a way, would you say, of doing that without spending money, or is it literally you have to view it as you would pay 50 quid to get leaflets printed in the old days, same as that?
Yeah, 100%. You've got to spend money.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to spend huge amounts of money at all. You know, I promote for, I don't know, have you heard of Music Venue Trust? It's quite...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I promote for their kind of sister arm, if you like, which is called Music Venue Properties. And that's the arm of that they've set up that is... They've set their stall out to buy 10 independent music venues this year at a cost of about, well, in the region of about £5 million, something like that. So I do all of their social media. They only started all their social media 3 months ago, so they've got 0 followers. So I said to them, we have to spend some money. We're like, oh, we're a charity, we don't have money, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, hang on a minute, you don't have to spend a huge amount of money. And I just said, well, how about if you spent £100 a month? And they were like, oh, yeah, we can manage that. I said, well, how many of the venues that you're working with are spending money? How many of the artists are spending money? And it's not very many of them at all. You literally, if you spent £50 a month on advertising on Facebook, which is probably more £50 a month more than most businesses are spending on Facebook, straight away you've won the game.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money, but you do need to spend something.
Okay.
It literally, if you spent £2 every couple of posts that you put out there just to boost that post, you will notice a massive difference.
Okay. It's good to
so
know.
it just depends what you're wanting to advertise as well, whether it's a business or whether it's a gig or, you know.
Yeah.
Usually with us, like just little independent musicians, you know, I think I've maybe spent like 5 or 10 quid one time on a couple of posts, and you know, it really does like reach a hell of a lot more people, but still it doesn't
It's not
necessarily
just that.
guarantee bums on seats at
No,
a venue
definitely
or
not.
anything.
But when you start spending money on the odd post, what you will notice is the ones that you're not spending money on are still doing a little bit better.
So
And that's
trickle-down
because
effect.
the algorithm thing that we don't really know about,
Yeah.
this algorithm then actually latches onto this.
Yeah, sure.
Because it picks up on your account.
Yeah, of course.
So it knows that this account is proactive, it's spending money, and it's actively seeking out audiences. So, because everybody slates Facebook. They always slag it off. They slag off Zuckerberg. He wants our money, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, he's not going to make any money unless he's actually helping businesses to make money as well. So, because if businesses are not making money, you know, and musicians are not making money by spending money on Facebook, then they're going to pull that money back out there and they're going to spend it somewhere else. So it does want to help you, but you've got to, you've got to help it a little bit.
I guess it's the. I think Facebook is very useful for businesses. What I've noticed from my perspective the last few months is that sick to fucking death of going to open mics, going to gigs like with E, for example, fucking smashing it. Everyone said how amazing we are. Oh God, you're amazing, blah blah blah. And then you get like one extra follower.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, well, what are we doing wrong? And then you're like, well, obviously, you know, it's got to be like a something to do with what we're doing on social media or not doing on social media. And then it becomes like, well, you know, I feel like the content we're putting out is good, and we're doing good stuff. We're not getting those followers, and I think it becomes a thing of, like you said, I've got massive issue with social media in terms of on a personal level. I think people are way too addicted to it. But it's where everyone is. On Facebook, like you said, if you use it correctly, at the end of the day, you have to view it as a business. Now, I would slam Zuckerberg all day long. I'd happily do it. But from a business point of view, like you said, he's there to make money. So what else can you expect? Like, he's not going to give you shit for free out of the kindness of his heart. He doesn't seem like a particularly kind-hearted dude. So like, he's not going to be like, I'll just boost musicians because I like them and they're artists. Like, I get what you're saying, and I think it's interesting because I never really thought of it like that. Like, if you do a gig and you get paid 150 quid for that gig, well, then invest that 50 quid of that in yourself for the month, you know? Rather than being like, so that's actually really useful to know.
There's a couple of things I'd unpick from that. So first of all, if I learned this from I'll spin it back to the business side of things. When I started going out and sort of pimping my own personal brand, because I kind of self-branded myself the Social Ninja, and that was even before I was that good at social media. But I thought, I've got to get out there somehow, and I need a name, and I couldn't just use Ian Wright, because every time somebody searched for me, it kept pulling up some other dude.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, how many Ian Wrights are there in the country,
So, and I couldn't really go around telling people, search for the other Ian Wright, the non-footballer or whatever. There's just no way of doing it. So I just tagged on the end of it, the Social Ninja, and that kind of started to work. So I started doing lots of training events, and started off 10, 20 people come in. Then I got it up to a few more, 60, 70 people come into my training events. And I was in the same position. I'd get back and they'd be like, nobody's liked my page. None of these people are liking my post. What the hell's going on? And then a bit further down the line, I took on a business mentor who I still work with now. And I pay him on a monthly retainer to actually just give me lots of bits of stupid advice. But every now and then he just drops this absolute nugget that makes it all worthwhile. And I put this to him one day. And one of the things he said to me, he said, how easy do you make it for people to be able to find you and follow you and like your stuff? And I went, well, I think I make it fairly easy. And he went, really? So why aren't they doing it? He said, so when you're at the events, do you actually go around and watch them do it on their phone? And I went, no. He went, why not? And I thought, do you know what? Why don't I?
So it's almost a bit of a forced thing, isn't it?
So the next one I did, in the middle of my talk, I was doing an 1.5-hour presentation, and in the middle of it, I stopped. I went, right, by the way, I've just remembered something. Everybody get your phones out. So they all got the phones out because they're all hyper-focused on what I'm saying because they're all writing all these. And they thought they're going to give them this amazing piece of business advice. So everybody get your phones out, right? Everybody go open Facebook. So they all opened Facebook. I said, right, everybody search Ian Wright, the Social Ninja. Just going to show you something. So I said, has everybody found it? Yep. And I waited till everybody, yep, got it. I went, right, now press the like button, please. Everybody, and they all did it. And I was like, I could watch there and see all these likes popping up. I went, great. I said, right, now last thing, what I'd like you to do is scroll back through my page and like the last 3 pieces of content that I've put out, which they did. And I thought, great. And then the algorithm just chucked all my stuff loads further. Now, I'm not saying you stop in the middle of a gig and start asking people to get their phones out and like. But what I am saying is you've got to make it so easy for people to be able to find your stuff and to find you that it's impossible for them not to do it. So, for example, for a band, soon as somebody walks through the door, where's the first place they go? To wherever the tickets are, or wherever the ticket booth is, or the merch stand, or the bar. At each one of those touch points, is there a QR code where they can scan it with their phone for some free stuff. Scan this QR code, get a free song. They scan it, it takes them to your page where they can like your stuff. How easy are people making it? I don't know. I'm just asking a question, but that's how easy it needs to be. You've got to basically. You have to walk the horse and force it to drink.
It's good advice, and it's frustrating when because we're always trying to promote, I'll follow the page, blah blah blah. Yeah. But people go, all right. But then if you don't see them do it, they're not do you. Like if all of them pulled their phones out and did it, it takes 2 seconds. Don't really affect their lives other than having to do what they were already. Everyone's constantly getting their phones out and looking at it. It's like it takes 2 seconds. Yeah. I wonder if it's difficult when you're at open mics as well. Like there's a bit of because you're essentially open mics are a weird thing because everyone's like artists. So everyone's like, oh, we're doing music, it's all lovely.
Yeah.
But you're fucking competing with them, like, for
Yeah.
gigs, essentially, Like, there's no way around the fact. If you go up and watch someone smash it, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
They were really
I
good.
wouldn't be asking people to get the phones out
Yeah,
in
do you
the
know what I
middle
mean?
of an acoustic
Can
gig.
you, like, follow our music page after we've just, like, annihilated you, you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird, like, dynamic,
However, what if you were just saying to them, oh, by the way, don't forget, there's a QR code there, and there. Just give it a quick
That's a
scan.
great idea.
You don't even have to tell them what's going to come up. You could create one of these link pages. There's loads of them, bit links and all them. So they scan it and it takes them to a link page. So it's got, here's our Facebook, here's our TikTok, here's our Instagram, here's our music, here's our videos. Once they've got that link page, they've got access to absolutely, and here's the free song.
So would that link page be just like a URL or something?
Yeah, just a URL. There's websites where you can go to them and they're all pre-built. They're not very fancy. Anybody that's got a website, what I'd advise they do is they create one page that is an actual link page, and they create the QR code just to go to that page.
Like a page within their website.
Yeah. I would never send anybody to my website. No way. Because they go to my website and go, ugh, too much information, disappear off. I send them to a link page, or I send them to what in the business terms, a landing page. So, if I'm teaching TikTok, for example, I don't then send everybody to go to my website because it's not relevant. What I do send them to do is go to my TikTok training page. So my website is thesocialninjas.co.uk. Let's say, for example, it'd be thesocialninjas.co.uk/TikTok or /links. And then that page, you create a QR code. There's loads of free QR code generators. And then once you've created that QR code, that's yours for life, as long as you don't change it. Print it off.
That's quite interesting. Isn't
Stick
it?
on a poster, have the poster at the bar, for
Exactly.
example. Yeah.
Everything's with the phone. Everybody's with the phones. It's at hand, even if it's in the pocket.
Exactly.
Walking in,
Yeah.
they can scan it within fucking 5 seconds.
Yeah. I get loads of people say to me, "Oh, yeah, QR codes, they're great, but I forget to print them out, or I don't have this, or I don't have business cards." And I say to them, "What's the one thing that you always have on you, always?" And they go, "My phone." And I go, "Why don't you print the QR code out and put it on the back of your phone, and then every time just say, oh, just scan that." Or have a digital version of it on your phone, just a photo, say, just scan that. Although it's quite hard to scan phone to phone. The back of your phone, it's there, and I haven't got one on mine, but
If you're doing a gig, just print it out on an A4 sheet of paper and have it there, smack bang in plain sight.
If you're doing gigs, it should be on every single flyer, it should be on every web page, every website, every piece of merch you've got, back of your t-shirts, everywhere. It's just a little QR code. You can make them as small as you want.
Nice.
Yeah, because we've been doing this centre stage thing. Don't know if did you hear about it or anything?
Yeah, I believe so.
It was focused around original music.
Yeah.
And it was going pretty well, and then it was just kind of struggling to get people out.
Yeah.
We were getting plenty of people like enjoying it and saying, "Oh, you're doing a great job" and everything like that, and then it just kind of just fizzled out, as things mostly do these days.
Yeah.
And the concept's still there, so it's not like we've just chucked it away in the bin. Centre stage can be anywhere. I mean, we were over at the Crescent, and then we ended up coming here, and then obviously we ended up coming up with the idea about the podcast. So
I think the difficulty is trying to translate. I guess it's like three-pronged, but like trying to translate like real world engagement, like you said, people saying it's great, like I said, like when people punch you in gigs, oh, you're amazing, to like engagement online, but then somehow getting these people to engage online to then come out into the real world again. It's a bit of a mystery to me, that like how to get those things connected.
It's always been hard to get people out to gigs, though. It's never
really
been
hard,
it's never been easy.
Never been easy
for independent bands
No,
until
it's
you
really
break
hard.
through. And
Until you
some of the
find something.
shittiest bands in the world have broken through, and they can fill arenas.
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't mean
mental.
they're good.
No, means they got
because
lucky.
there's some good bands out there that are still playing to 5 people and
without
2
doubt,
dogs and a bar staff. It's and COVID didn't help, because obviously it spun that world upside down.
Completely, yeah.
There was a little bit of a period after COVID where people, yay, we're allowed to go out again, and all the gigs were filling up again.
Yeah.
I'm still playing in bands myself, and we had that little purple patch where we were playing to full house everywhere we went.
Yeah.
That's fallen off again now.
Yeah, we got that with like COVID. Like we were just starting to kind of like almost make it. We were getting everywhere. We didn't ever need to even advertise. We were getting like 1-2 gigs from every gig we did. We didn't go searching for gigs. We were like getting places that were packed. We were like people were like we were getting in with good bands. Like COVID happened, we were making money. And then COVID happened. We didn't do anything for a year and a half. And I remember like the first few gigs when we came back out, it was banging, it's bouncing, everyone was loving it, and then it just like fucking completely petered out.
Yeah.
And like it went the other way, like it was less busy than it's ever been. And it's like what's gone on here? You know, it's strange when you're doing good stuff. I mean, we haven't really played much for a year because dodgy shoulder and whatever, but like
fucking hell.
But yeah, well, that's
frozen shoulder.
I'm not gonna talk about that again. But like we talk about her too much. But it's you know, now I'm doing other stuff as well. But like finding the same thing, it's like trying to get people out. It's complicated. But like when it is frustrating when you're smashing it. Like fuck, we're doing really good, like musically, but you're not, you know, getting through. And I think the advice about having to spend money is something I'd never really even considered until that point. I was like, yeah, like I know it's a game, and I knew the game you had to play, but I didn't think that like, oh yeah, of course. Like
the thing is, as well,
money, like,
everybody's got to pull together as well, because it's not just the bands. You know, that it's not just the bands; it's also the venues.
Yeah, 100%.
That are putting these bands on. I've seen it. I mean, I've been a musician since I was 15, so that was a few years ago, and my first gig. I was 16 years old when I did my first gig.
Yeah.
And nothing's really changed. You know, if everybody's not pulling together, it ain't happening.
Yeah,
you know, you can have bands kicking the ass out of the promotion, but if the venues are just not bothered, you know, and their fan base are not helping. Nowadays, you've got the luxury of a fan base that's a little bit more connected. So, you know, if you ask your fans to help, they will help.
Oh, yeah.
Which we do all the time. I mean, I'm in a slightly more privileged position that I don't have to make money from music.
Sure.
I don't really want to go out kicking the ass out of gigs at a small pub anymore.
No.
I'm not saying I haven't done it, because I have. You know, I've done fucking decades playing in pubs. Decades.
Yeah.
But I play in tribute band.
Fucking hell.
So I joined the dark side.
Is that a Darkness cover band?
I joined the dark side last year.
That's not the name of the band either.
Is it a Darkness cover band? It's had like 3
No.
songs.
I'm not going to plug the band.
You
at
plug
all.
the band?
Yeah, plug it if
Plug
you
it
want,
away.
mate.
No, I'm not plugging the fact that I play in a Twisted Sister tribute band.
This is the tribute band. Like, what do you want? Oh, Jesus.
And yes, I do wear a wig.
Oh, man. Well, you'd have to, wouldn't you? You'd have to.
And leather trousers.
I think it's just, I think you're right. I think that was one of the things we found difficult setting stage was that the venues very quickly lose interest if you have one slightly non-good night. You know, they're like, oh, well, what have you done? Like, we're busting our ass because we did, like, we were doing podcasts with every musician. We had 4 musicians on the original music.
Yeah.
So and also the artists as well themselves. Like, that was one of the most fucking irritating things. And sorry, music lovers and followers on page, I'm going to fucking blast you here. Like, the amount of times that we get, like, we do set the stage. The first 2 are really, really good, really, really packed. And we get people coming along, like people who are playing, they'd be like, oh, such a great idea. We did a podcast with them. So we put loads of effort into that. Like my ex-wife would edit it all and do like, put up things we talked about in the podcast, like albums. It was really like.
And me and him would start at 4 o'clock, packing all the gear. I'd go to his house, 4 o'clock, Friday afternoon, because we did it on Friday night. And then I won't get home till about 12:30, 1 o'clock.
So we were we were working real hard at it. And then you get musicians, and they'd be like, oh, such a great idea, you guys are working really hard, I'm definitely going to support it. They play their gig and they never fucking come to another one. And like, I wouldn't care if these are people who were gigging like twice a week. They weren't. The people that we gave the platform to like play the original music, and they're still not supporting it. You're like, guys, like, if you want people to come to your shows, fucking come to other people's shows. Like, we're meant to be like, with the whole purpose of doing it is that it's really, really difficult to play original music because everyone just wants covers. And like, we respect the fact that you're doing like original music, because that's what we like. I don't have anything against people who do covers. I haven't got anything against tribute bands. I just think there should also be a market for people who do original music.
Well, there has to be, because otherwise no new music's going to break through. So there has to be that platform.
But the whole purpose of it was that we were in it together. You know, we're pulling together, trying to like, make it, and I just
to try and pull some out of the woodwork. You know, people that don't really come out or don't get the opportunity to sort of like play in Selby, because there hasn't been much of a music scene.
No, not at all.
Since for ages.
Yeah, since
really.
Since you had your place.
Since you had your place.
But like it's it just got really I guess just we got kind of just got despondent because we were just like
Yeah.
we're busting our asses. Like hours, whipping hours and hours for basically no money. Like
Yeah.
we would like put a bucket around for people to get paid, and then we ended up because we felt bad because we were always like hated not getting paid for gigs. We would end up giving like some of our money to the musicians if there wasn't enough in the bucket.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause we were like nice guys, and we were like fuck.
So
we were like making no money, and like
I think we made a little bit. I
We
think
made a
over
little
time we did manage to kind of like buy our own PA,
you made a
which
bit,
but
of
we'd
money.
been saving for about 3 years for that.
Yeah.
Well, that was like COVID era, wasn't it? So we had a bit.
Yeah,
Like,
two years maybe. Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
it was just, it just got frustrating when you're not getting the support, you know, and that pulling together thing. It's like, well, you all need to do that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
if you want people to turn up at your gigs, you got to do the same for other people, you know.
Yeah,
Like, me and
absolutely.
Doddsy will always go and watch our mates' bands or people who are in Friend and Selby. We always try and get out to them if we can. And you just feel like you're fucking flogging the. I'm sure you probably felt the same with was it the venue?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
my last one. Yeah, I've had a few places in Selby actually. Because
I don't know if you can talk about this or not, but didn't you have a bit of a disagreement with the council or something? Like that? I don't know if you can talk about that or not.
Feel free. Or
I feel like
if you don't,
I want you to talk about it, and I definitely know that's
But
the case.
it was a shame because it's super shame because that had potential. Did that place
Definitely,
the venue?
yeah, yeah,
You put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that, and then it's a fucking car park now.
yeah.
Ridiculous.
Look, you talk about blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, yeah, I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that place. I also sunk a lot of money into it as well. I mean, you know, there's.
Hence the tears.
I'm not going to. Well, you know, I'm too old to have regrets. And
Yeah, we all are.
I've never been hugely money driven.
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like money. I like making money, and I'm pretty good at making money when I put my mind to it.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna. You know, I'm happy with or without money. You know.
Yeah.
These people who
think
say,
you
"Oh,
need to
money
be."
doesn't buy happiness." Well, it's absolutely true. It doesn't, because money just makes you a rich, sad person. That's all it does.
It can help by some form of happiness for a little bit.
I don't even believe it'll buy any form of happiness at all. I think it'll just make a rich person, it'll make a sad person even more sadder
There's that,
because they'll be sad with a shit ton of money in the bank.
Don't-
I mean, I've been classed as a rich person. You know, I've been well, I'm not going to say how much money I've had, but I've probably spent over £2 million at least in Selby.
Nice.
On venues and nightclubs. You know, I opened a nightclub in Selby and shut it down 2 years later after.
Which one?
Club 7. So
You were Club 7, were you?
yeah, that was mine. Yeah, I bought that from.
That's just down the road from where the Riverside.
Yeah.
Well, round the back. It's now. What's it called now? The Riverside Ballroom or something?
It's called River Mills Ballroom.
River Mills Ballroom, yeah.
And it's a really great wedding venue.
It's
you
lovely.
know,
Yeah,
if
it's really nice in
anybody's-
there. I've been in there for a few.
When I took it over, it was an absolute shit tip, and I mean a shit tip. It was horrible. You know, it was the original sticky floors and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But they were so sticky, the carpets were leaving with you. It was so bad, and it had
Cans.
a bad reputation. It was drugs, underage, all sorts, fighting. It had the archetypical everything everybody said bad about Selby was all focused
Microcosm
in
of
this
that bar, yeah.
one place. And when I took it over, I was a fireman when I took it over, and I was also quite a reasonably well-known businessman in Selby because I'd had other businesses before that. And when I took it over, I became a very focused centre of attention, you know, because everybody thought I was just going to keep running it the way it was because it was obviously making some kind of money.
Yeah.
But that's not what I was about. I've never been about that. So I spent a ton of money doing it out. I had a business partner. There was two of us. You know, we completely refurbished the whole place from top to bottom. I mean, we didn't spend as much money as what's being spent on it now because it looks amazing now.
Does look amazing,
but we were still talking about early 2000s. You know, people still wanted dark, dingy nightclubs. So, and it did really well for a little while. I even brought live music into there. Started putting live music on. We did Battle of the Bands in there and a few other things. Because what I found out on the grapevine was that there was a pub down the road called the Royal Oak, which became the Riverside, which had gone through its own sort of issues. It'd been a fantastic pub, and then it started going down and down and down. And from what I'd heard, it used to be a really good live music venue, and they did Battle of the Bands and all that.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I actually did play in there in a band. When I first came to Selby in a Battle of the Bands, we came second to a band called Catalyst, if you remember them.
Oh, Catalyst, yeah.
Chris Catalyst, who's now a very famous musician. He's an amazing guy who's doing really well.
He does guitar with Sisters of Mercy, doesn't he?
He does, yeah, and he's played with Ginger Wildheart and Ghost and loads of other bands. Yeah, he's amazing. So yeah, that was going back. I mean, that's back in, I don't know, about 98, 99, something like that. But that place had gone down the hill. Turns out the same guy owned both of these places, and he'd basically dragged them into the gutter just to rape all the money out of them and then leave them in the shit tip. So I kind of thought, I took it on as a little bit of a personal mission to revive Oozegate. So I opened the nightclub first. My reasoning was to open the nightclub, then buy the pub, because that was run down and dying on its arse. As it happens, fate or whatever, the guy who had it got kicked out of it by the brewery. So I messaged the brewery. They literally put me in there the next day. But then we realised it was a shit tip, so we had to shut it down for, I think, 3 months, fully refurbished it and reopened it. So I ended up with both for a little while. And then I had this master plan in my head, was that I would put live music on in the pub, and then later on at night it would become a feeder bar for the nightclub, and then the nightclub would obviously take off and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that didn't quite happen. Nightclub started dying, but it was my own business failings, actually, because I didn't see things changing. The smoking ban was lifted that year. And then there was the people had to go outside and smoke. We didn't have an outside area apart from the car park. And then the licensing laws changed in the same year. So I won't mention any names, but the guy who was the licensing officer in Selby, who was a complete wanker, went round and gave every pub in Selby a late 2 o'clock license, which, by the way, was illegal. But he went and did it for them. He even wrote the paperwork for them. And that basically put the 2 nightclubs in Selby almost out of business.
Right.
One of them was Cans. The other one was mine. Mine was fully independent. It was literally just me. Cans was owned by a brewery chain. So they kind of propped it up to keep it going while it had nobody in it. I just couldn't do that. I'd run out of money. I had nothing. The day I closed, right, this is a 400 capacity nightclub. A few months before, we were running at 200-300 people in there. The night we closed, I was sat downstairs and I looked at my head doorman and I said, Tiny, I said, how many people have we got in? And he pulled out his piece of paper and he went, 14. Jesus. And I went, how many staff have we got on? And he went, 12.
Jesus Christ.
And that's when I shut the doors and never reopened.
Oh, don't blame you.
I was just
I think you have
that's
to
it.
when something's like, you're paying stuff out and not getting anything in return.
You've got to, I didn't learn the lesson fast enough. I know it now. There's a lesson in business is if something's not working, stop, move on, do something else. Don't drag it out and don't try and flog a dead horse, because you're just draining your money, your resources, your will, your family, the whole lot. And I didn't do that soon enough. I should have shut it 6 months earlier, really. Anyway, to move on, I still owned at that point, I was the operator of the Royal Oak, which I'd changed the name of it to the Riverside, but it was more of a light, very light, airy kind of modern bar, if you like more like a wine bar than anything. And we were putting live music on, but we were sticking them right down in the far corner. We had a makeshift PA that we used to have to drag out of the cellar. We used to hire a guy in to do the sound. It was a bit tin pot, really. But because there was nowhere else in Selby, we were getting really big crowds. We were getting 100 people to come and watch some crap band.
100 people in there. It's quite nice and cosy.
Very cosy. It was 190 capacity, but there was most of it was taken up by bar space or seats or the band area. And then there just came a time where I thought, do you know what? This needs to be a live music venue. And I just thought, fuck it. And I just turned the whole thing into painted it black, you know, as you remember.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, played there,
Stripped one side of it out completely, knocked a wall down, built a proper...
there was that little raised section,
bit,
wasn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that still there when you did?
Was it in the back?
Just
wasn't it?
so
There was a
where
raised
you
section at the
ended
back.
up
that
having
was
the stage.
That was the
wasn't there
snug. No, the stage was actually on the floor. It was on the floor. The only raised part was the drum riser at the back.
Wasn't there a bit at the back that was raised where the sound people would sit?
Yeah, we had a little bit of the
Like a little booth.
next to the bar where we
Yeah.
built a little sound booth and everything. Yeah, and we did really well for a while. I mean, I remember one night we had a tribute band on, but we had an Iron Maiden tribute band, and we sold over 200 tickets. You know, we had over 200 people there. Thankfully, there was at least 40 people outside smoking at any one time. Otherwise, it just wouldn't have worked. But it was the busiest night we ever had in there, which was amazing. And it's bands, nights like that can just turn a place around. You know, we were only charging $5 a ticket, but you know, sell 200 of them, and that gives you a good pot of money that you can start investing. And then, you know, things kind of moved on, transpired, and the guy who was my landlord, I'm not going to mention his name because he's a dick. But the guy who was my landlord told me that he was looking at taking on the building next door, which was a furniture shop at the time. And he said, you know, if I take it on, would you be interested in having it? And I was like, yeah, 100%, I'll be interested in having it. Because I've been looking for, at that point, I've been looking for somewhere to open as a fully fledged live music venue, a proper live music venue, to kind of plug that gap in the town. Because you had the town hall, which was a big venue, but they were putting on, at the time, really way out sort of folky stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know,
lovely acoustics in there, though.
The acoustics are great. And at the time, they weren't really putting on much live music, only the really way out stuff. They had their regular crowd, the older crowd. They could sell 200 tickets without it, just by going to their mailing list. So I was trying to plug the gap for the independent bands, the young uns, the kids who could come along and have a proper live music experience in Selby. And I looked at a few buildings. I even bought a building down the road. I don't know whether you remember it, about the Salvation Army building on Ousegate. I bought that thinking I was going to turn that into a live music venue, but it just turned out it wasn't quite right. So I did it up and sold that one. That actually did really well for me. I actually made quite a lot of money on that. Nice. And the money I made on that, I actually sunk into the venue, what was to become the venue. I would have struggled to do it without it, because I think my initial outlay was about 50,000, because when I took it on, it was a huge, huge building, damp, the roof leaked, the walls were falling over, you know, it had no soundproofing, it had 10 layers of carpet on the floor that were all rotten, and it had walls built inside that were all sort of flimsy, falling over wooden walls. So me and a couple of other guys who came to help me, we literally stripped the place out and we built it from the ground up. You know, it was literally nothing. It was just a shell. So to build that, actually, do you know where all the money went in that place?
Business rates?
No. In the toilets, the toilet block.
Oh, really?
Because there was no toilets in there. There was literally there was one toilet in a tiny cupboard in an office, and that was it. And there was one small water pipe coming into the building. So we had to dig the floor up to lay in a proper water pipe, and we built the toilets from scratch. There was nothing there, literally nothing there. I think the toilets cost 20 grand or something.
Fucking hell.
You know, but you know, you've got to have these facilities.
I did like the rusticness of it all, though.
Yeah,
you know,
it was definitely rustic, and it was fucking freezing as well.
Well, yeah, it did get to that point when it was a little bit cold, but But I think if you'd have been given more time, or you decided to stay on a bit longer, I think that would have probably been the next thing for you to do.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's always something I want to do, is like own a music venue, you know. So it's interesting to talk to someone who has, but like, you know, I just can't see any way of making it work in Selby now, you know.
No,
people just didn't go out for it.
It's about getting, like we've always said, like the bums on seats. In this case, at the venue, it's more specifically a standing. I mean, I've been there. I've been there. Obviously, I've been there a few times. There was I went to go watch an AC/DC tribute band, and they were fucking brilliant. They were really, really good. The lead singer, obviously, because he came on, and he was dressed as the original singer, and then the second half he came on as what's he called, Brian?
Brian Johnston.
Brian Johnston.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
came on with like a different outfit.
Yeah, that's
obviously
right,
to go with the flow.
Yeah.
And the guitarist was up on the bloody bar with
Yeah, he was, yeah.
his guitar doing the old whatever he does that thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I've still got the videos
it
of
was
all
so
that.
fucking entertaining. It was great.
Well, it was a 300 capacity venue, which was probably over capacity really, but I signed my own fire regs for it, so we managed to get away with it for a while.
Talking to the wrong man about that.
It's probably slightly over capacity, but 300 capacity, and I think the most tickets we ever sold was to a Bogus Brothers gig.
Yeah, they did New Year's Eve, didn't they?
They did.
that Blues-
Well, no,
is that Blues
no,
Brothers
it was the
tribute?
day before New Year's Eve.
Oh, the day before.
Is that a
right.
Blues
Yes,
Brothers tribute?
No, they were.
Original.
They're like a party
proper-
band. They do covers.
right.
They do all covers, but they're more like a party band.
Oh, I think
They've
I've
been
seen
going
them.
for a long, long
Yeah,
time.
I saw them at Leeds Armories.
Yeah, they've been going for a long time. Anyway, they always put on what they called their local gig in Acomb, because a lot of them were from York, but actually a few of them were from Selby, and they'd never really had the opportunity to play a decent gig in Selby. So when I got speaking to Tony, who was their kind of manager, if you like, he said, playing it in a place like this in Selby, in my hometown, is going to be amazing, because they've played in Selby before, but only in smaller places, so they've had to cut everything back. He said, now we can put our show on for people. So, they ended up playing there 3 or 4 times in the end. And for me, even though we won't talk about how much money we paid them, but their fees were rather large, we're talking into the thousands, we always made really, really good money on those nights. And that's because they were a well-established band, they were very well supported, but by God, did they promote the shit out of it as well.
I think it's just, again, that thing for it's... If it's... Because I guess our issue always comes down to the fact that we're, like, committed to it being original, independent, unsigned music, so it's always going to be fucking difficult. But, I don't know how to... I've never been able to
Especially on
work
like
out
a
a balance.
Friday and a Saturday night, because the majority of people, they're out, they're having loads of beers, they've not seen the mates all week or something, and they just want to. Everybody just wants to listen.
There
to
must be
like,
people
covers.
there must be people
Yeah.
who like
There
music.
has to be, yeah.
There has to be people like it's a massive town now. There must be people who like music, so they're trying to get. That's
Yeah.
like
So
amazing building.
it's growing as well. Like Selby
Yeah.
just keeps growing and growing in.
Look,
In
people say
population.
to me all the time, the one question I always get asked, because I haven't, since I left the venue, which is, God, I think it must be 6 years now.
Is it 6 years?
I
Jeez.
think it must
It's
be.
been a while, yeah.
Because is it that long? I don't know.
It's about as long as we've been going. So that's about 5.
like
Is it
6,
4 or 5?
six.
5 maybe.
I'm going to
No,
look at my
longer,
notes.
6.
2018 I've got here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nearly 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I closed that, I did have a little bit of downtime. I didn't do anything for quite a while actually, other than a little bit of my marketing stuff, and then COVID happened and blah blah blah. And I did always have the intentions of opening another place. I had a place in mind in Selby. I had the money to do it. I had the will to do it. I had all the gear. Everything I took out of the venue, I still had. I don't have it anymore. But at that point, I did. I had the PA, I had the lights, I had the stage, I had the rig, the whole lot. I still had it all stored away at 2 big lockups outside of Selby. And I had this place earmarked, and then the council did a compulsory purchase on it, closed it down, bought it out with the intentions of doing something, and it's now been sat empty and just almost probably going derelict for 2 years.
There's that it might even be the building you're talking about. But there's that one that's on like 3 floors opposite Mrs. Caesar's.
Oh, fish and chip
Fish
shop.
and chip
yeah.
shop. Along that road that goes
Oh,
along
no,
the back,
no.
along to-
No, it's not
anyway,
that one.
That building there, like I didn't even remember what the fucking club was called. It was
Square Bar.
That's
It's
a
been-
fucking massive building. I was like,
Yeah,
looking at it, and I
yeah.
was like, that'd be fucking perfect for a music venue.
Well,
Well,
it's
the
funny you
first-
should say that.
Not
I
that
used
for
to
us.
I used to run that.
Did you? I was literally looking for it. I was like,
What,
that would
what was
make
it
them
called
run.
when you used to run it?
Disco Inferno.
Disco Inferno.
Yeah, I can't remember. I remember it being. It was the Madhouse many years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah,
like
I
early
remember it.
'90s, and then I think it changed to Cloud 9.
I don't remember that.
It went to Cloud
That's
9.
before my time.
So this is like kind of like nightclub, and then I can't remember. It was called something. This was when me and Dav started sort of like tinkling. They used to do an open mic in there, and they used to do it downstairs. And then there's a room on the
it was
first
Market
floor.
Tavern for a while.
Market Tavern. That was
I
it.
just
Yes.
like that. It's just a big space. It would just make a really good venue.
Yeah, so I had that. It was about 2006,
Nice.
I only had the lease on it through the brewery, but when I took it on, the two top floors were pretty much derelict.
Yeah.
And the brewery were only charging me a little bit of rent for the downstairs room. But what I didn't tell them was, because I had a load of gear spare from my other nightclub, when I closed my other nightclub down, we kitted out the middle floor and we put loads of sound and light in there. And we opened it as a nightclub and we put live music in there every now and then. But mainly we had it as a nightclub. And I ran that for 2 years without the brewery knowing it was even.
It's just nice it's got these floors to do it with. But anyway, that's beside the point. It's I was trying to get to work, but it's interesting to. Yeah, it's interesting to like hear from someone who's actually done it, because
I mean, the building I was talking about was the Railway Club, if you know that.
Oh, next, I know the Railway Club. It's down by the bus stops and all that.
That's empty now, isn't it?
With their bus stops and all that.
Yeah.
And
it would have been perfect.
Well.
It's ground floor. It's fully insulated. It's got a stage.
Out of the way. You haven't got any
changing
neighbours.
rooms.
Next to the station.
No neighbours. It's got a car park.
Nobody's building any fucking houses opposite.
Nobody's building any houses opposite. And anyway, when the council compulsory purchased it, that just went, which is a shame because I would have been able to get that.
I reckon you'd have done well with that.
That'd be a really good place to. That'd be a really good place to.
If I were, because anyway, to go back to my point, what I was saying was people ask me all the time, especially people from Selby. They say, "Are you going to open another place?" I always get asked that question, and for the last 5 years, my answer has been no, and I never fucking will. Not in a month of Sundays. And my missus would always go like that. However, over the last
there is a light.
Yeah. However, over the last 12 months, I've been coming around to the idea of opening something.
Nice.
However, I think now, especially for Selby, Selby couldn't support a fully fledged live music venue.
No.
It just couldn't. It just can't do
no
it.
chance.
Not a 300 capacity one for
It has
sure.
to be dual purpose.
That's why even when I had my big venue, to actually make it financially viable, we had to do other things.
So like little markets things on a weekend.
Well,
Markets,
motherfuckers, go and watch music. We could do it. Sorry.
Well, we used to have people might slag me off for doing this, and people hated this, but we used to put raves on.
Nice.
And the thing is, what they didn't realise was every time we did a successful rave, it meant that we could do a couple of other successful gigs.
Yeah.
Because I could then afford to pay for some big artists to come.
Yeah.
People used to say to me all the time, how have you managed to get Roachford, for example, to come and play in Selby? Well, it's quite simple. Yeah. I fucking paid him a ton of money to come and play in Selby. There's no magic bucket for it. There's no magic wand to get any big acts to come and play in your venue.
No.
You pay them and you look after them. We've had some amazing artists and some phenomenal bands that have played in the venue where people have literally gone, how? How has this even happened?
I would obviously encourage you to do that, but
So I think the only way it would work now, it would have to be a hybrid venue.
It would have to be dual purpose. It'd have to be.
It'd have to be. So it'd have to be a bar, come event space, come venue, come whatever, hire out space. It'd have to be a multi-purpose venue. It's the only way it would work. Yeah. And there's not many places in town that could facilitate that. There's a few, but
there's a few.
But if you did, we'd be there supporting you as much as we
can. I appreciate that, and I'd like to think that I've got enough goodwill in Selby that I could probably open a
you got a good reputation as well. You got a good reputation as well. So,
I think so. Yeah,
I think if
I know I've upset a few people, but
I think if you did decide to do it, once the word got out, I think it could potentially work. But
there are people, and blow our own trumpet, but there are people, talented people in Selby. You deserve something like that, where people who like music, who are having to go to York or Leeds all the time, and just want to go locally. And I think there's potential in Selby. I see potential walking around, talking to people I've talked to. We talked on this podcast. I see there's people who want to work hard and want to make Selby good, and I feel like it needs to be. I think that'd be a real core part of having somewhere where people can go.
The thing is, when it comes to live music and smaller sort of market towns, I've always come. I mean, I came from Northallerton. Again, it's a market town. It's about this kind of size. Didn't really have live music places, but we played in plenty of places in town. But what a town needs is it's not just a live music venue. It needs an ecosystem.
100%.
It needs everything. So it needs a rehearsal space.
100%.
Yeah.
It needs somewhere where bands can go and just gather, whether it be a coffee shop or whatever, where they can just jam.
Ooh.
And then it needs that place where they can go and play.
I watched a documentary, and it was called mostly Johnny Moped. I mean, know the band Johnny Moped?
No.
They're an old 80s punk band, and they're fucking shit. They're like punk, but I mean, they can write. I mean, they're just fun. They're
Yeah.
crap. They're crap. They're fun, but in the documentary, it goes into the scene. I think it was Milton Keynes, one of those pop-up areas around London, and loads of like punk bands started there. Like the Clash started there. Like Alison Moyet was there back in the day, and it wasn't so much that it was a good venue. It was a grubby old punk venue.
Yeah.
But there was somewhere where they could all go and hone their craft with a supportive crowd. Everyone supported each other. Said Johnny Moped as a band were crap. As like you watch them, you like if you listen to like Radiohead, for example, my favorite band, and they listen to like Johnny Moped, you wouldn't even think they were doing the same thing. They weren't making music, But they were kind of like the catalyst for everyone to kind of like gravitate. They were really they promote shit as stuff. They would like stupid like posters.
Yeah.
And then this whole punk crowd kind of like zoned in almost one bar in fucking Milton Keynes, and then out of that they were like some of the biggest punk bands of all time. Fucking The Jam, Sex Pistols, they were all there at some point,
Yeah.
And like for me to have that like place where musicians can gather, not even to play music, just fucking meet up, like maybe do a fucking like open mic or jam set, just to have somewhere where people could go and meet up and have that kind of like you said, ecosystem or community or whatever you want to call it, would be just excellent, and it would be a real good like stepping stone for like music in the area,
Yeah.
that documentary, like, well, I was like, we need something like fucking that in Selby, so
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things as well. Most towns have got like an iconic person who's come out of that town at some point.
100%,
And sometimes that can put them on the map a little bit.
Yeah, definitely,
And catapult that town. Selby's kind of, well, it has got lots of people who've gone on to do some amazing things in music. But what it hasn't had is someone in that mainstream, who everybody goes, oh yeah, it's so-and-so, so-and-so. They're always on telly or they're in the charts or whatever. The people who've come out of Selby have gone on to like in thrash metal bands and punk bands and underground this band,
they're like session musicians and stuff like that.
I could name 2 or 3 people who've come out of Selby or Selby area and they've done 10 albums.
Yeah.
And I guarantee most people in Selby have never heard of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what, 10 albums? It's like 10 albums. That's more than Ed Sheeran.
It's interesting that when like we were did a podcast with Josh Emery, is his last name?
Josh Emery. Yeah.
Josh Emery is a tattoo artist, if you know him. Yeah. And I mean, like, we came in to talk about we came in to talk about I won't go into too much, don't worry. But we came in to talk with Josh about tattoos, but then I found out he was in a band. So it's just shit like that where you scratch the surface a little bit of any area.
Yeah, they've played in the venue. So
there's people underneath it, who I just use just an example, but across the board, like if you scratch the surface a little bit, there are people who have done shit or are talented and are just that's the kind of shit we need to kind of like.
Selby's is weird because it's also got some like really high profile. I couldn't even name any, but poets, and artists.
Yeah,
they've come out of Selby. And it needs these people to really sort of start shouting about Selby.
I always wanted to put like on an art gallery night somewhere, just let people who are local artists just come and just fucking display their art for a fucking night. Like,
well, there's some good artists in Selby.
There is some good artists in Selby, and it's the sort of thing that if you can get artists on board or poets on board with the singers, then you've suddenly got an artistic community, not just these people. And this is going to sound awful. I don't mean it in any disrespectful way, but like we've got friends in cover bands, for example, and they just dominate the scene. There's not, because they just go and play all the places, and there's nothing. I didn't like hold that against them personally, but there's not any other alternative to that. It's always the same people doing the same set, doing the same sort of music, and I feel like if you can like tap into the actual creativeness of Selby, then and get somewhere, like you said, like that ecosystem or that community, somewhere to go. I think it would like elevate everyone a bit more. It would give the town a bit more of a buzz, as well. Something. It's not because it's at its core. I grew up in Bristol, right? So it's a very multicultural, diverse, progressive sort of town. I came here and I love people in Selby, and I could have this year moved away back to Bristol, but I chose to come back here because I really like it here, and it's not a disrespectful thing at all. But there's a downtroddenness to people in that it's still a mining town at heart, and the young kids have kind of like picked that mentality up. We're just like, just go to work and just go out drinking. That's your life, you know. And I feel like if we could scratch the surface, or we could like elevate what we've been trying to do with centre stage, what you were talking about, that sort of thing, might just kind of, you know, bump up a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, the bands have got to be good.
Of course, yeah,
Yeah.
of course,
You know, because
yeah, of course.
you can be as proactive as you want and play as many gigs as you want, but if you're not good,
Yes,
people are going to soon get fed up of seeing you.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was younger, growing up, so the bands that were doing the rounds, they were all playing covers. That was the done thing back then. You know, you did half your set would be covers and half your set was originals if you could get away with it. And that's how you used to have to ply your trade, if you like.
Yeah.
But what the bands that went on to actually do really good stuff were the bands that they didn't change the sets all the time. They played the same 10 songs all the time.
So they got good at it.
But they got really good at it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they went, and they got really
the
good.
craft.
We very much
Flying the craft.
Me and Dudley have had the same. Obviously, we had a new album. We're writing new songs, but we keep the same. By and large, the same 20 songs because we know we can smash it every time. You know.
Yeah.
I think some people go to things and they're like, oh, I'm gonna try this new song. I'm like, if you want to try new songs, fuck off to open mics. Like, that's the place where you do new songs. You don't do new songs when you're booked for a set and you're getting paid. You do shit that's gonna be tight. You know?
Plus, there is a lot of bands have this tendency to go out and they almost start playing live gigs before they've even, you know, done the bedroom playing
before they're
as
ready.
well.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of that can really spoil a scene because they're not thinking of it from a punter's perspective.
Yeah, you want that visual, don't
It's
you?
hard to listen to some bands when they're really, really shit.
Yeah, so we did.
You know, and they've got shit gear and all the rest of it. And I'm not saying you should go out and buy the best gear.
And they don't have no personality on stage,
Yeah.
you know.
We did a
And you
gig.
have to,
Yeah.
We did a gig. I think me and Dudley, we're good. We're not like what you call qualified, but we are good sound engineers. We both got good ears for both know the equipment well. And we did this gig. You'll know what I'm talking about in a minute. We're in Gaul for a friend of ours. He put on a gig, like a 4 bands, whatever. I think we were second on or something. Big Phil opened up, and these young lads playing, and they weren't bad, but like when we were sound checking, because we were doing the sound check and doing the sound engineer for them, like they had no idea what they were doing. So all they were doing was turn up louder.
Yeah.
So like, all it was just a mash of noise, and you're like, and they were like, at one point they were like, all right, we're ready to go. And me and Dudley were like, we ain't even fucking started yet. Like, start again. Like, this is an absolute...
Start with the basics. Right, you go first.
Like, get the drummer on. Right, get the bassist... You know, and it's like that, you know, and it was
But
like...
that's what you need. You need sound engineers who can, you know, really help these bands out because a lot of them just haven't got a clue.
I can't... One of the things I hate the most is going to a gig or an open mic someone else is arranging and they, like, plug you in and they just walk off and fuck off. And you're like...
So
Hang on a minute, I haven't got a monitor. I can't hear what's going on. I can't reach the sound desk. Like, stay in sound. Like, you're being paid to make sure that we sound good.
Yeah,
like,
that's a different kettle of fish though. When you're playing with monitors to sort of like, because we do a lot of rehearsal. We can just like rehearse in a room because we're just 2 acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
But when we get plugged in, we make sure it's all, you know, it's tweaked to exactly how we think it should be.
Not just us, but everyone. Like
for everybody that
we never
do,
left the soundboard. There was always one of us next to the soundboard and one of us stood at the back checking.
Tweaking every single song.
Because you have to put that effort in. Like, I think a lot of people don't do that, and that also ruins the kind of vibe and the scene because you've got people like doing shit jobs, you know? I'm not going to name any names.
Or not even doing a job, just kind of like
turning
up.
The bare
just
minimum.
do that and leave it.
Yeah.
Right,
it's a shame. A lot of it comes down to money, but...
we've been going an hour, so let's wrap this fucking thing up. It's been a pleasure talking to you, mate. Anything you want to promote? Where should we check you out? Where can we find your management page for social media?
Well, the best thing
Social Ninja, or you?
Yeah, if anybody wants to find me on Facebook, just Ian Wright, the Social Ninja, you know. And if the one thing I would say, if there's anybody who's running a business or is in business, especially if they're new or they're not hugely, you know, up on social media or digital stuff, if they want me to do an audit, I will do a free audit for any local business. You just go to my page, you know, just send me a message and just say, can you do me an audit? And I'll audit all their shit for free.
Lovely. Look at
Awesome.
that.
Well,
Free order.
when we get these, when we sort of like publish this, it'll be like maybe a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, cool.
Um,
Well, there'll be a link below for that.
Yeah,
then, by
We're-
the
we're
way.
going to
we'll
put,
we'll
I'm
have
going
all
to
the
put all
links on,
sort of
mate, don't
links
worry
on
about
and
that.
everything
Yeah, we'll
like
have
that.
it
So
on. Thanks
that'll
for your
be
time, mate.
brilliant.
It's been
No
really
worries,
nice to
thanks for
talk to
having
you.
me.
Illuminating. So thanks a lot, mate. Nice one.
Fingers crossed, mate.
See you
Fingers
soon.
crossed. See you later, mate.